Just 23 days away from WrestleMania. And finally last night, we got a moment that made us feel like it was WrestleMania season. Now here's the catch. It had nothing to do with WrestleMania. In fact, it actually had nothing to do with WWE. It was the arrival, the debut of Sasha Banks in AEW as Mercedes Moné. It was heavily teased, heavily speculated, confirmed without actually being confirmed. They made an entire event for this one individual in Boston titled Big Business. You knew that this superstar / professional wrestler was showing up. And for the first time all WrestleMania season, BC put the remote down and I was actually curious. I was interested. I was intrigued. And it came from AEW. It came from the arrival of somebody I highly respect in this industry because she is so damn good. She knows her worth. She gambles on herself. She doesn't take BS anymore. Everything about Mercedes Fernando kind of draws BC and so many others to her. And last night did not disappoint, let me tell you. In the way that it kicked off, by the way, salute to AEW to really hook the audience because I got to tell you, no pun intended to hook, by the way. Sorry, Taz. But to hook your audience, you have to grab that intrigue and interest from your audience. Right? You have to have something that hooks them from the jump. Something as simplistic as a limousine driving up to the parking lot of the arena. The door whipping open. Nobody gets out. We cut to the intro. Beautiful. Hook your audience. Maybe you have individuals that were just watching The Big Bang Theory. They have no intention of watching Dynamite. They just can't get to the remote in time to change the channel. But they see a limousine pull up. The door opens up. Who is it? They don't watch wrestling. They don't watch AEW. Maybe it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe it's Taylor Swift, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce. Maybe with Jay-Z. You don't know, right? I wonder who's in the limousine. Nothing else on. Anyway, I don't feel like getting up right now to get the remote. Let me watch 10 minutes of this. And for the wrestling fan, it piques your curiosity from the jump. Limousine pulling up. All right, is that Mercedes already? Is that somebody else? Is there another debut? Is that just Tony Khan, right? You don't know. A limousine pulled up, door whipped open. We cut to black. You gotta see who was in the limo. Those little details are not so little. From the jump, every professional wrestling show should start with a hook to grab your audience's attention, and it should end with a cliffhanger that makes your audience need to tune in next week. Not want to, right? We all have wants. Wants, they get tossed to the wayside. Nobody cares about what we all want. It's what we need to do. You need water. You need food. You need to find out what happens in this wrestling storyline next week. You have to make your audience need to tune in. You end a show with a cliffhanger. Professional wrestling has lost the art, the very substance that was the basis of the foundation of pro wrestling, which was a hook and a cliffhanger. And throughout the show, you keep going back to that one main storyline, which is surrounded by all these other sprinkled in storylines. It's not that hard. But you watch pro wrestling today, nothing's hooking you from the jump, and certainly nothing is making you come back the next week at the finish of the show. Simplistic. A limousine drives up and a door whips open. We don't know who's in there. Love it. Simplistic. That's how they started the show. And when we come back from the signature and the theme, whatever, when we come back, the first wrestler out of that tunnel is the debut of Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. And she's looking like $1 billion, pun intended, right? Priceless. Drenched in white and gold, even under the robe, which she shedded at the end of the promo, and she's wearing another attire with the white and gold. She just looks, this is legit money, right? Legit money right there. And I'm not just talking the skill set. She just has every box checked off. She is ultra beautiful. She is insanely sexy and wildly talented. She's got the beauty, she's got the sex appeal, and she's wildly talented. She's got it all. The perfect package. And she's out there looking as such. And she cuts her promo. Now, you could go many different ways with it, for sure. That you can go the way of right out of the gates, just be a heel, right? Be a little bit more comfortable, start insulting the audience a little bit right in your hometown. You could really irk the roster, irk the fans, feel more natural and comfortable in the environment. You could have went that way. Ruffle some feathers. You could also go the way where at the end of the promo, somebody comes out, right? We were all thinking, is Tony Khan going to have somebody come out and confront her right from the jump? That's another way you could have went. Instead, they went for the homecoming speech, right? The hoorah, good to be back. I'm AEW. I'm elite. I'm all elite. I'm home in Boston. Thank you. The tears. They went that route. But it wouldn't be the end. At the end of the night, she would end the show as well. She would start the show. She would end the show. There was even some physicality at the end of the night, which I'll talk about in a second. So they decided to give the moment entirely to Mercedes. Definitely okay with that. Could you have added a lot of elements to it to make it even more special? Of course. But Tony Khan wanted this moment for her, knowing that she was going to come back out and start some little side business, which again, I'll talk about in a minute, knowing she was coming out later to get physical. So a lot of people are going to have their feelings about how they would have debuted her, but I love the limousine from the jump, starting her off for the show, knowing she's going to end the show. I'm totally fine with. She looks incredible. She looks like she's actually happy. She looks like she really wants to put this roster on her back and make it something special. And I just can't believe that Paul Levesque McMahon allowed these two individuals to slip right by. Will Osprey, for sure. I mean, the opportunity to get somebody like Will Osprey. If you're Paul Levesque McMahon, that's an exclamation point to your roster. That's it. I mean, you can close up the roster at that, but you don't need anybody else. Will Osprey pretty much completes an already stacked roster. And he just didn't really take a lot of value in Will Osprey. And I don't see how that's possible, because Will Osprey is not just talented. Will Osprey can speak on this. Will Osprey can put a storyline on his back. He's one of those dudes. I'm not surprised at all that he's getting over this quickly. Every time we think somebody's going to be super over in a company like AEW because they were super over elsewhere, it doesn't always come to fruition. Adam Cole is struggling. The injuries and the time off didn't help him, but Adam Cole is really struggling to find himself in AEW. Jay White, listen to the reactions. And what they have him doing, and everything he does kind of contradicts itself. A lot of these wrestlers you thought were going to be super big, and they're kind of struggling to get their footing in line. But you see somebody like Will Osprey, and it just comes so naturally. Nothing has to be forced. He doesn't have to get his footing in tow because it's already intact. The ducks are in a row. He just got to knock them down. Will Osprey is the complete package. I said this about Kenny Omega for the longest time. And when Kenny Omega and they started the Bucks and Cody and Tony Khan, they started AEW, and I just felt like we didn't get the best version of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. I feel that their EVP status greatly hindered them. Cody felt the same way. Cody had to get out. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, they never recaptured the magic that they had in Japan. And that's sad. Because when you heard they were starting their own promotion, you were really hoping they were going to not just capture that magic, but expand on it. They never got that magic. But the way I looked at Kenny Omega when he was in Japan is the same way I look at Will Osprey. He's the total package. Now you don't screw it up. Paul Levesque McMahon had a chance. There was some negotiating. He just didn't see the hoopla with him. Didn't want to pay him enough. Wasn't going to go to bat for him. And just let him kind of go over to AEW. He didn't want to really move out of the UK anyway. All right, so he was already kind of like, WWE really has to pitch themselves to me, not the other way around. Because I don't want to move out of the UK anyway. He's got his family situated. He moved to Japan at one point in his career, and that didn't sit well with him. He didn't necessarily like that, so he didn't want to move to the US. This gives him much more wiggle room with AEW, but he was willing to listen to the offer. WWE, pitch yourselves to me. I can absolutely help your product. But Tony Khan was able to finalize that deal. Good for him. But Mercedes, Sasha Banks, has to remain in WWE, you're thinking, right? Right, Paul Levesque McMahon has to sit her down and go, listen, I don't know what happened in the past, or he does, but no matter what, okay, we got Naomi back. There's no way this division goes on without you a part of it. Knowing that we're doing business right now, we're having this meeting. There's no way we're ending this meeting without you not signing with WWE. And somehow Levesque McMahon let her walk. They didn't want to pay her. The report is they didn't want to give her equal pay as Charlie Flair. That's the latest report we have. Not more, just equal pay. How you have Charlie Flair, not just but you don't equalize Mercedes, Sasha, to Charlie Flair? She's not equal. Charlotte Flair is not everybody's best match. Sasha is. Mercedes is everybody's best match. Not Charlie. But to totally go, we just don't feel it's a fit at this time. We can't cough up that amount of money right now. Sorry. I would have loved to. But we just can't do it. We just brought Nia back. we gotta re-sign Maxine in a year. I don't understand it. But AEW, right? One man's loss is another's gain. And Tony Khan's like, dude, I don't know if this is just about money. Like, what are we doing? Like, get over here. Like, you are Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. You're here. It's just wild to see how badly WWE botched Banks when she was with the company and then had a chance to bring her back and botched that too. But here we are. AEW is where she is at now, and now it's how far is AEW willing to meet Mercedes Moné to really catapult this whole women's division? Because everybody's talking about moving the needle. Is Mercedes truly going to move the needle? Well, that needle is only going to be moved as much as AEW allows it to be moved. They have to meet Mercedes with good booking. Or else we have another situation where CM Punk stagnated the ratings at 950K. They couldn't go really above that. Their average was 950, sometimes less. Edge shows up. After his debut, the ratings went backwards. But that's not CM Punk's fault necessarily, or Edge, or Bryan Danielson, or Mox, or Saraya Page. No, it's the fact that they brought him in, big debuts, name recognition, hoping that the name alone would pop that rating every week going forward. But that's not the case. Everybody tuned in, saw the debut, and went, all right, not much to see. Edge will just fight Christian for the next year. We've seen that for years over in the other company. And so on. You have to have something for them. Before they even debut, have a whole program planned. Know where you want to take this character. Stories should already be developed. Or at least the blueprint of those stories. The trajectory of the character, of the story. Everything should be thought out beforehand. Otherwise, you just have another big name and a crowded roster of big names. So we're all talking about Mercedes moving the needle. AEW still has to do a lot of work with her, just like they still have to do with Edge, still have to do with Mox and Bryan Danielson and Page and everybody else. A Jay White. Whether you're coming from WWE or Japan, Will Osprey. As good as Osprey is, he still needs AEW to meet him halfway. So time will tell. At the end of the night, Mercedes shows up in the main event match with Willow and Rio. Good little match too, by the way, for the main event for these ladies. Willow, I don't know what when Willow was down at the end of the match, she's about to, I don't know, maybe it was Rio's little coup de grace or some move, but Rio was up at the top rope and Willow is waiting to take the move. And Willow looks like she's just in bed on vacation, right? Or she's ready for work. The alarm went off, but she has it on snooze, so she shut it off, and the alarm goes off 5 minutes later, and she shuts it off. The alarm goes off 5 minutes later, and she's just like laying in bed. You watch Willow waiting to take this move from Rio, and she's like fixing her hair. She's like rubbing her nose. She's got a smile on her face. She's wiggling her butt to get comfortable into the mat. She looks like she's in bed on vacation about to take this move. And then a minute later, she's on the outside. And she's on the mat on the outside. Rio's about to jump from the apron to deliver a move. And Aubrey and Willow are having a full-out conversation, not even caring about or acknowledging that there's a camera a foot away from you. And Willow is supposed to be flat on her back about to take this move, and she's like up. Her whole upper body is like talking to Aubrey Edwards, and then she just goes back down, and she's got that little smile, and she wiggles into position. So Willow's got to remember, man, just because you're on defense taking the moves, you still got to remember the cameras are on you. You're still performing. You just can't wait till you're on offense and deliver power bombs and whatnot. So that was hard to... It just takes you out of the match, man. She's smiling, she's talking, she's fixing her hair as she's about to she's rubbing her nose. What are you doing, man? Sell like you're knocked out and about to take this move. I don't know what Willow was thinking last night. I don't know if she does that. I don't get to see a lot of Willow matches. I'm hoping that's not what she always does. Otherwise, match was pretty decent. I don't know where you go. I mean, the 6-man tag earlier, you could have easily said should have been in the main event with Okada and the Bucks. You could have said that the World Championship match should have been in which, by the way, I have to talk about Wardlow in a second, too, if you don't mind. But first of all, Willow ends up defeating Rio and then is attacked by Julia Hart and Sky Blue. And this brings out Mercedes. Mercedes, I believe, hit her new finisher on Julia Hart, I believe. Because I think Sky Blue was already knocked out at that point. I think Julia Hart took Mercedes's new finisher. So I think that's how it ended. And then Willow holds up the hand of Mercedes and gives Mercedes the stage, basically. The ring to end the show. And there was a lot of time left. So Mercedes gets out. She hugs her family in the first few rows. She goes around. She starts dancing. Good camera angle kind of below, too. So it really illuminated the CEO character because that's her new moniker big time. They even have piped in music, CEO chant. And it's definitely piped in, but I mean, people were doing it as well. You know, it's catchy. I get it. But it's a piped in CEO kind of chant. It's kind of part of the song. And it goes. So the boss is no more. The CEO is here in AEW. And that's how the show ended. So you started with the limousine and Mercedes coming out, cutting the promo, heartfelt message. She's going to be a face for a few months until the novelty wears off, maybe. And then she could be in her natural habitat as a heel, ruffling feathers, not caring what anybody thinks, and being the best at what she does. But for the first few months, it looks like she's going to be a face, unless it really catches on and it lasts more than a few months. I wanted to talk Wardlow, as I said just a minute ago. He had a title match with Samoa Joe. Of course, he earned that, Revolution, whatever it was. And here we are like 10 days later, whatever it is, and he's already had the match and he's lost it. He got tapped out or passed out to Samoa Joe last night. And I'm not saying Joe should have lost the championship. I just wouldn't have had this match this soon, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have had this match. If Wardlow was just going to lose anyway, I just wouldn't have done the match. But I feel so bad for this dude. When I would review Dynamite in AEW consistently, which I had to stop, they just didn't like my critiques. Something I said? I don't just rip these shows just to hear myself talk. I love pro wrestling. I want to see these shows, these companies, these talents, everything, the storylines be better, right? I help. But AEW didn't like necessarily my critiques. So, all right. And so I developed a rule anyway. You know, if you don't hit 1 million viewers on your show, then I'm just not going to review it anyway. And that's why, you know, I can't review AEW. Now, if AEW starts hitting 1 million plus every single week and there's a real massive audience there, then BC will absolutely think about jumping back in. And that's why like NXT, I mean, they get like 500,000 if they're lucky. So NXT, I don't know if that will ever be reviewed. But that's why I had to establish that as well. But back when I would review AEW consistently, week to week, show to show, Wardlow was always just being screwed by Tony Khan. I always remember that. I would always talk about Wardlow so vividly. Like, damn, this guy somehow naturally gets over like 4 different times. And all 4 times, Tony Khan like sabotaged it and ruined Wardlow's momentum. destroyed it. And here he is somehow in this silly thing with Adam Cole. Somehow he cuts this promo a week or two. Was it last week or the week before? He cuts this promo and it has the wrestling world talking. It's like, Wardlow, dude. All right, he's back on our radar. I mean, this could be the moment he's been waiting for in us. Maybe there is one more push left in him. And this time, Tony can't screw it up. And he cuts the promo. He earns it at Revolution, this match. And then all of a sudden, he's passed out to Samoa. Done. At this, you cannot take him seriously anymore. I said that 2 sabotages ago. And then they did it again. And then last night, again. He talked a big game. He gets in the middle of the ring and he passes out. I mean, at this point, you got to think, did he do something? Did he piss Tony Khan off? Did Tony Khan like a girl and Wardlow accidentally took her home that night from the bar? I don't know. But Tony Khan is sabotaging Wardlow for some reason. Wardlow did something to Tony, and Tony's just like, I'm going to give you 2 steps, and I'm going to take you back a mile. I feel bad for that dude. When I was reviewing AEW on a week-to-week basis, I was always talking about Wardlow getting screwed and sabotaged by Tony TK. And I watched AEW last night. I got to watch it live, which I don't always get to do. You know, I always have this other business to do, and I know I'm not reviewing the show anyway. But I got to watch it live, and I'm like, has anything changed? Wardlow's still getting screwed when it looks like fans are starting to get back on his bandwagon. Interesting. I just had to mention that, man. Salute to Wardlow. I'm not even saying he deserves to be put. I'm not saying he's the best talent or the best on the microphone, but somehow this dude, he gets fans to buy into him, right? First, there's something about Wardlow where fans get behind 5 different times. You don't see that often. And all 5 times, Tony Khan has sabotaged it. You just got to throw up a coffee and say, keep your head up, dude. Salute to Wardlow. You can't help but feel bad for him. That's what I got for you guys, man. This is a pro Sasha Banks channel, now pro Mercedes Moné channel. It always has been since I started this. Pro Bray Wyatt, pro Sasha Banks. So on this new journey for Mercedes, I'll be along for the ride. I'll be watching vividly. And if you're new to Mercedes Moné, maybe you started watching wrestling just when AEW, popped onto the scene and you just follow AEW, you don't know that much about Mercedes, you're in for a ride. This is what I call the greatest female wrestler on the planet today. She's everybody's greatest match. You can't say that about Charlie Flair. You can't say that about Julia even. And these are just, people like Julia I highly respect. She could be WWE bound soon, by the way. But you can't say that about anybody else. I mean, Banks, Mercedes, she is everybody's greatest match. She's the common denominator. So I just don't say she's the best or the greatest just because I support her. I say it because all the facts say it. The evidence is in Mercedes Moné. She's the greatest right now. And when she's in the ring, I don't take it for granted. I sit back and I just enjoy every moment of watching her perform. There's nothing like it, You could say it's like when Shawn Michaels would put on his matches, and you just sit back and you go, let Shawn Michaels do what Shawn Michaels does. It's one of those things where you're just like, just sit back and just watch Mercedes be Mercedes and steal the show. Not even trying to. And in the process, elevating everybody else. Like I said, she's everybody's best match, which means that she's one of those performers that, if you're facing her, as long as you bring your A game, even B game, she's going to raise you up to that A+ status. She's going to make you look like $1 million with her. That's special, man. That's what I got for you guys, man. Until next time. And there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. Mercedes Moné is all elite. It is so good to see her back with that smile. Beautiful, sexy, talented. We're all in for an awesome ride with Mercedes. I really hope that the booking meets her in the middle because there's a lot of special things you can do with this lady on your roster. Salute! Mercedes is back. Top guys, we're out. Boop, 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 boop. BC saying check you, the amplified unit. Peace.